All right, everyone, welcome to week 3 of Earth and Space Science. This is the last part of Unit 1, and so it's kind of like our last little trip across our universe, or our galaxy and our universe. So the focus this week is on stars. Um, and so you've already seen we've gone over the different elements of our own solar system, how things were formed. We looked at the brief history of modern astronomy. And so you have a pretty good foundation for this. And the last piece of that, and it's a really important piece, is the formation of stars. And so I'm sure you know that our sun is a star, that the sun is a star. Obviously, at the center of our solar system. Hopefully, you know that holds the galaxy, or excuse me, the solar system together by gravity. Um, you should know that gravity is just a characteristic of anything that has mass. So the more massive something is, so the sun's actually really, really massive, even though it's made of gas, has a lot of mass to it. And so that gravity allows that large amount of gravity is what holds our solar system together. Um, and so this chapter really helps explain where does that mass come from? How does a star form, and then what are the different steps in the life cycle of a star from beginning to end. There are a bunch of different types of stars. Our sun is only one of them. There's a bunch of other ones, red giants, white dwarfs, blue dwarfs, and so forth. So this chapter goes over the different characteristics and the life cycle of each of those. Things like how long do they last, everywhere from a million years to hundreds of billions of years, what they're made of, and then sort of the evolution, because they don't just form and then they sort of sit there and they don't, they change over time, and there's different aspects of the core and what's on the surface and the different temperatures and so forth. So all of that is described pretty well in this chapter. And so you'll go over the different star classifications, the stages in the evolution, um, and then look at the different aspects of stars. There's this thing called main sequence stars, and I'll just show you a chart right here. This is a bigger one in your book. But these are your main sequence stars, which make up something like 90 to 95% of all stars in the universe. So these you're going to compare, in particular, these main sequence stars. Our sun is right here in the middle. It's a yellow one. So this is actually a classification system. I'm not going to go over this in detail, but this is a good time to point out. If you haven't noticed already, in your book, there are links to mostly videos, and they're video explanations of different aspects of the book. So one such video explains this chart, this Hertzsprung-Russell diagram. I just want to point out those videos are really, really helpful. If you haven't been watching those, I strongly suggest that you do it because, it's one thing to try to read and figure out what they're saying, but having someone explain it to you, and these videos were created by the publisher of the book, so they do a really good job. So make sure you watch those videos. And so you look at different elements of different types of stars, look at the life cycle, including, I would assume everybody thinks black holes are pretty neat. Maybe you've seen Interstellar, which focuses largely on a black hole, and there's some other movies, and it's kind of a popular culture thing. But that's actually the end of the life cycle of a certain type of star. So not all stars turn into that, but a lot of them do turn into that. But there's other things in the life cycle. One really important one that explains a lot of our universe is something called a nebula, which is um, it's kind of this cloud of elements of heavier gases and solid particles, and so that's where a lot of the heavier elements like iron and uranium and magnesium and so forth came from on our planet. So they came from dying stars, basically. Um, and so, in earlier chapters, you looked at the evolution of our solar system and how there was this sort of like nebular cloud, and there was these heavy elements that were circulating around our sun, and then that's what formed the planets. And so those heavier elements came from nebula, which are pretty interesting. And then you look at the different types of galaxies, everything from elliptical, spiral, and so forth. And then some aspects of the Hubble telescope and the Big Bang theory, which is the theory that we can't prove, but it explains most things in the universe. The formation of the universe. So all of that is in this chapter. Okay, so hopefully this kind of puts a bow on the rest of your understanding of, at least the cursory understanding of the solar system and the universe. And so after that is complete, you then should take your Unit 1 quiz, which is based on all of the Unit 1 content, and then Unit 1 exam. Okay, so these do have due dates and they are timed. Um, okay, so hopefully that little bit of overview helps set the table for the last chapter of Unit 1 before we move on to plate tectonics and volcanoes and some other things. Okay, well, everyone have a great week, and if you need anything, please reach out.